Hello and welcome. Today we're talking about stillness because stillness could feel like a failure when your success has been built on proving. And yes, that sounds very dramatic, but this is the part most high achieving people hate admitting because no one wants to admit that they're feeling completely chaotic inside when they have a quiet calendar. Most people crave a quiet calendar, so when you have a little less to do, it shouldn't be a crisis. But I keep seeing this pattern with so many high achieving women in business. On paper, everything looks successful. The business is moving, the clients are there, the team is flowing and getting along, opportunities are there. And of course, there's going to be this layer of invisible pressure to stay relevant, stay in motion, keep up. But behind the scenes, the second things get quiet, even just for like an hour, the panic starts to set in. And it's not always loud panic. Sometimes it sounds productive, like maybe I should update my offers. Maybe I should post more. Maybe I should launch something. Maybe I need a better strategy. Maybe I need to delegate a little more. Maybe I'm falling behind. Maybe this quiet means I've plateaued. Maybe people know I'm a failure. And that's what's so sneaky, because a full calendar of constantly doing, constantly be busy, being productive does not always mean the business is growing. Sometimes it just means that you're afraid to stop. I see this all the time with women who are so deeply capable. They have reached a level of success that looks fantastic. They are not lazy. They are definitely not unmotivated. They're not just sitting around avoiding work. If anything, they're usually overfunctioning. And overfunctioning for years. They've become the engine of the business, the decision maker, problem solver, the one holding the entire structure together in her head. And when that stillness finally shows up, it does not feel like the relief we think it should. It feels like, wait, why is nothing happening? Why do I have a moment of space today? Am I missing something? And I think this is the part no one talks about enough. Stillness doesn't feel like peace when your identity has been built around being useful. And I cannot tell you how excited I am when I'm able to carve out a little space on my calendar, even if it's just 20 minutes. I am sometimes looking forward to that days ahead of time, knowing that I'm going to have that 20 minutes. But guess what? When that 20 minutes shows up that I have nothing to do, my brain fills it up. It cannot just turn off and give me a little piece. It starts scanning for what I might have forgotten, what I should be doing, who I might have forgot to reach out to, why it might collapse if I just let myself take this 20 minutes. And yeah, that sounds irrational. 20 minutes, the whole world's not going to burn down. But that stillness just feels so difficult. We have created such a pattern of do that we overproduce, we overdo everything. And so when we get that moment, we suddenly like, oh no, this doesn't feel right. No. This stillness starts to feel like a failure when all that doing, that overfunctioning was a sign of your worth. That stillness feels like withdrawal. Withdrawal from urgency, withdrawal from proving, withdrawal from a version of you that learned how to feel safe by constantly producing. That is not a discipline problem. That is a design problem. That pattern usually has nothing to do with you don't know how to rest. You know how to close your laptop. You know how to block off a day. You could say no sometimes. You know how to book the massage, take the walk, or stare at a wall pretending you're relaxed while your brain quietly makes a list of 47 things you forgot. The issue is much deeper than that. It's the internal narrative underneath that rest. The one that says, if I'm not producing, I'm falling behind. If I'm not visible, I'm becoming irrelevant. If I'm not moving, I'm losing momentum. If I'm not needed, maybe I'm not valuable. That's the part we have to dismantle, because rest cannot actually restore you if your mind is using the entire time you're trying to rest to punish you for even needing the rest in the first place. And this is where a lot of what we've been told makes it worse. Because I feel like so much of what we've been taught is like somehow a scoreboard, and we're constantly comparing ourselves to what someone else's score is. Someone always is launching something. Someone's always scaling. Someone is always announcing their best month ever. Someone's always working 3 hours a week while making millions and apparently never spiraling in their kitchen at midnight wondering what the hell's wrong with them. Great for them, but visibility and sustainability are not always the same thing. It's not that stillness means you're falling behind. It's that your body doesn't know how to feel safe unless we're producing. I think for a lot of us, we have reached a level of success that looks great, and we did that by how much we're accomplishing and getting done. When you're constantly measuring your worth by what you're able to accomplish on what other people are accomplishing seamlessly, all that noise becomes evidence. Evidence that you should be doing more. Evidence that you're behind. Evidence that your stillness is dangerous. But a full calendar does not always mean momentum. And so when you get those moments of stillness, quiet, we think we're failing. But that quiet is showing you how much of your success has been built on pressure. Stillness is not the enemy. That moment of rest is not going to bring everything burning down. Stillness is a place where the noise gets quiet enough for you to see what's actually running the show. And sometimes what's been running the show is not clarity. It's urgency. It's comparison. It's fear. It's over-responsibility. It's the belief that you have to keep proving you deserve success you've already created. If I'm not constantly doing something, I can't be successful. And of course, that's going to feel exhausting because you're not just doing work. You're carrying the emotional weight of proving you're allowed to have that work in the first place. And damn, that is going to get heavy. Rest does not need to become another thing to be validated. It's just something that is. Humans need rest. And that rest, even just for 5 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour, that rest creates the space between stimulus and reaction. And that space matters so deeply. When you're exhausted all the time, everything feels urgent. Every dip in engagement feels like a problem. Every quiet week feels like a threat. And even a slow season feels like proof you need to reinvent everything and start from scratch. So you start reacting. You start tweaking the strategy, rewrite the marketing, start cramming your calendar of things. You start saying yes to things that you already know you don't want to do. You start looking outside of yourself for the answer. But half the time, the business doesn't need a pivot. You need enough capacity to tell the difference between a real signal and an exhausted nervous system looking for some kind of control. That is what stillness gives you. Precision. And this is why human design makes so much sense to me. It's not another thing to box you in, but it helps you understand how you're actually designed to operate before you build an entire strategy around someone else's capacity. People are not designed for constant output. Some people are, not everyone. Some people need a little space before they say yes or no. Some people need to respond to something. Some people need to be invited into the right rooms. And some people need emotional time before decisions become clear. And yet, this business world keeps handing everyone the same rules. Post every day, launch this way, scale this way, lead this way, be consistent in this exact way, move faster, decide faster, promote more. And then high-achieving women blame themselves when their body starts saying no, and they're completely wiped out. But maybe your body isn't sabotaging your success. Maybe it keeps refusing to force yourself into something that's not meant for you. That is the work. Not about fixing you. It's about redesigning the structure around you, the human, who is running the show. Your work should support you, your time, your energy, and your life instead of just constantly draining it. So no, you're not overwhelmed because you have too little time. You're overwhelmed because you made constant productivity the price of feeling safe. That's different. Because if time were the only issue, a day off would fix it. But no matter how many days off you take, it's not going to fix it. You take that day off and still feel guilty. You clear your calendar and still feel behind. You slow down and immediately start questioning whether you're losing momentum. That tells us the problem is not your calendar. It's the meaning you attach to your calendar. Busy means safe. Quiet means danger. Output means value. Stillness means failure. And once you see the pattern, you can stop treating every quiet season as an emergency. You can ask better questions, not what should I do to feel productive again, but what is this moment of stillness giving me the opportunity for? Sometimes it's those still moments where the next clean decision finally has room to land. It gives you that space to breathe, to see where maybe you need a little more support, and just a spot to slow down and not fear everything is going to fall apart. And that piece of feeling like everything's going to fall apart if you slow down is why so many get stuck in this cycle of pushing, then crashing, and then doing it all over again. Pushing, and then crashing again. They're not choosing exhaustion because they love being exhausted. They're choosing this familiar version of success. This version they know as, this is who I am. The achiever, the fixer, the one who can handle it, the one who doesn't drop the ball, and the one who keeps things moving. Stillness breaks all of that and starts getting uncomfortable because you start asking, who are you when you're not proving? And that question can feel terrifying, but it can also be the doorway. You could not grow a business and be successful in a way that supports you while you're still using exhaustion as evidence of worthiness. You cannot lead from precision if every decision is coming from depletion. You cannot create sustainable success if your entire operating system depends on you never needing to stop. At some point, that pace that got you to where you are is not going to be the same pace that's going to allow you to stay at that level of success. And that has nothing to do with failure. That's growth asking for a new structure. Maybe the problem is that the version of success that you're trying to operate from never made room for you to stop proving yourself. So maybe that moment of quiet on your calendar is not a sign of failure or there's something wrong. Maybe the plateau is continuing to measure success by how much of yourself you're overriding. Maybe stillness is not where momentum goes to die. Maybe stillness is where you finally stop reacting long enough to hear what's actually next. And maybe nothing is wrong with you. Maybe your success just needs to be redesigned around the person who is living inside of it. And that person is you. Until next time, keep rebelling, keep rising.